making headlines. The Environment Minister discloses that this year's COP summit is set to feature the most side events of Maldives. The Health Minister announces that the screening process has commenced for thalassemia children scheduled to undergo bone marrow transplants next year. And the Economic Minister reveals the government's goal of commencing operations of the DBM within this year.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to PSM News in English with me, Hafiz Abdul Sattar. And now the news in detail. Minister of Climate Change, Environment and Energy, Tariq Ibrahim, discloses that this year's COP summit is set to feature the most side events of Maldives. The 29th COP summit, the foremost international conference on climate change, will take place from November 11th to 22nd in Baku, Azerbaijan. Minister Tariq said that the Maldives will play a significant role in this year's COP summit, hosting 4 side events currently in preparation. These include a collaboration with the Asian Development Bank (ADB) on renewable energy and a side event focused on sustainable coral reef management. Emphasizing the importance of reef protection is the chair of the Atoll's nation at COP. He also mentioned plans for an event advocating for funding for the Loss and Damage Fund, as well as launching the Maldives biannual transparency report. Before the summit, the government aimed to hold a special event to gather insights from Maldivian youth on environmental issues. The feedback from this meeting will be used to prepare a statement representing the youth of the Maldives. A senior delegation from the Maldives is expected to attend the COP summit, although details have not yet been disclosed by the government. Last year, the COP28 meeting in Dubai saw participation from the president and a senior delegation from the Maldives. Minister of Health Dr. Abdullah Nazim announces that the screening process has commenced for thalassemia children scheduled to undergo bone marrow transplants next year. The remarks were made by the minister in the ceremony held to launch the Thalassemia Prevention and Control Master Plan. Speaking at the ceremony, Minister Dr. Nazim highlighted the government's efforts to control and prevent thalassemia during the past 10 years. The minister lauded the government's efforts of continuing the provision of opportunities for thalassemia children to receive bone marrow transplant. He revealed that 14 children have already been sent abroad for treatment and confirmed that the screening process for those scheduled to undergo bone marrow transplant next year has begun. The government aims to send a certain number of children to undergo bone marrow transplant annually. Families of thalassemia patients often encounter numerous challenges in assessing necessary treatments such as bone marrow transplants. In response, the government has implemented various measures to alleviate these issues and ensure that services are accessible within the country. As such, the ministry has stated that bone marrow transplant services will be offered in the Thalassemia Hospital being established in Hulumale, fulfilling the pledge of President Dr. Muhammad Muiz. The government is establishing specialized facilities for hazardous chemical management throughout the Maldives, with the first center now operational in Ado City. Proper management of these chemicals is crucial for public health, as past incidents of inadequate oversight have underscored the need for effective measures. Minister of Climate Change, Environment and Energy, Tariq Ibrahim, highlighted the significant volume of hazardous chemicals imported into the Maldives, making effective management systems essential. The Ado City facility has been entrusted to WAMCO, and another hazardous chemical management facility is being developed in Wandu Rai Atoll. The Ministry of Environment is implementing a phased approach to ensure safe disposal nationwide, with additional facilities planned in Tilafushi. New regulations have been introduced to ensure safe chemical disposal, addressing serious health risks associated with improper handling. The Maldives' commitment to safe chemical management is reinforced by its participation in the Minamata Convention on Mercury, which mandates the phasing out of mercury-containing devices and adherence to environmentally sound disposal standards supported by financial assistance under the treaty. The Ministry of Finance announces the upcoming sale of Treasury bills, T-bills, totaling $273 million to support government expenditures. This issuance will consist of 4 separate T-bills.
The offerings include a T-bill of $123.7 million, maturing in 28 days, a T-bill of $11 million, maturing in 98 days, a T-bill of $54 million, maturing in 182 days, and a T-bill of $78 million, maturing in 364 days. The interest rates on these T-bills range from 3.50% to 4.60%, and they will be sold on October 20th. T-bills are short-term financial instruments issued at discounted prices in local currency with the face value paid back at maturity. While this structure benefits investors, it does not directly benefit the state. Typically, these T-bills are purchased by banks, the Maldives Pension Administration Office, and various public and private companies. The government is introducing measures to boost revenue. Proposed amendments to existing laws have been submitted to Parliament, including increases in 3 taxes: the Tourism Goods and Services Tax (TGST) on tourism facilities. Changes will affect the Value-Added Tax Act, the Maldives Tourism Act, and the Maldives Airport Tax and Fees Act, resulting in higher rates for TGST, Green Tax, and Airport Development Tax and fees. If the proposed amendments pass, they are expected to generate an additional $169 million in revenue and contribute up to 3% annual increase in national productivity or GDP, according to the Finance Ministry.
Minister of Economic Development and Trade, Mohammed Saeed, reveals the government's goal of commencing operations of the Development Bank of Maldives (DBM) within this year. Maldives Monetary Authority (MMA) issued the license required for DBM on October 13th. The license was issued under the condition that the DBM begins operations before October 12, 2025. In a statement, Minister Saeed has stated that efforts are underway to recruit employees for the bank. The minister also disclosed that the government aims to ensure that the bank is operational before year-end. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz announces the formation of the DBM on May 16th. The DBM will play a pivotal role in enhancing the financial system and facilitate essential development funding in collaboration with international and other financial entities and investors. Key objectives for the Development Bank include reducing wealth disparities, improving housing, alleviating the state's debt burden, and revitalizing underdeveloped areas. The bank will provide not only loans but also equity financing, fund syndication, and risk insurance. Focusing on 5 priority areas: energy and food security, housing, environmental protection, tourism, and marine economic activities, the Development Bank is poised to play a vital role in securing financing for various industries. Governor of Maldives Monetary Authority (MMA) Ahmad Munawar underscores the crucial significance of the newly introduced foreign currency relation in enhancing the operations of the banking system. He made the statement in a panel discussion held in the Maldives National University (MNU). During the discussion, MMS Governor Munawar noted that while $4.5 billion flows into the Maldives each year, the central bank receives only 23% of this amount through taxes and other sources. He indicated that the overall demand for the Maldivian currency, rupiah, would be augmented by reducing the quantity of dollars that do not enter the banking system. Although these regulations have been approved and welcomed by businesses, Munawar mentioned that many have sought clarification on the procedures for depositing and exchanging funds in banks. In response, the governor revealed that local banks are not capable of issuing dollars sufficient to meet the demands of the tourism sector and must resort to borrowing from foreign banks to fulfill these needs. According to the new foreign currency regulations issued by MMA, all tourism facilities registered in the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority (MIRA) are mandated to regulate their income via the national banks. Additionally, resorts and safaris are required to exchange $500 per head through local banks, while guest houses are required to exchange $25 per guest. The Ministry of Finance introduces a new rule to impose fines on bidders, suppliers and contractors participating in state tenders. This regulation clarifies penalties for offences that were not previously specified in the Finance Rules and Finance Act. The new rule outlines 16 offences, including submitting incorrect documents, concealing information and obstructing other bidders. The Procurement Appeal Board will investigate and act against violations. Under the rule, offenders may face fines of up to 2.5% of the total bid price, with penalties assessed based on the severity of the offence. Suspension from bidding can last from 3 months to 1 year for first offences, 2 to 3 years for second offences, and up to 5 years for further violations. Suspension may be extended if new offences occur within 3 years of a prior suspension. Affected parties will be informed of the reasons for fines and suspensions and will have 5 business days to respond. They also have the option to request a retrial under the new regulations. The Labour Relations Authority (LRA) announces a minimum suspension of $91,194 for individuals who die due to workplace incidents. The LRA has introduced the Workplace Safety and Health Regulations, which outline the compensation framework for injuries, disabilities and fatalities occurring in the course of employment.
Workers who sustain injuries resulting in either temporary or permanent disability or lose their lives due to work-related activities are entitled to compensation that covers medical expenses, lost wages during treatment, and damages associated with disability or death. Employers are mandated to provide appropriate medical treatment to injured employees to facilitate their recovery. Compensation for lost wages during the period of absence can be claimed upon submission of a leave certificate from a registered healthcare provider. The compensation amounts are determined by the severity of the disability, with permanent disabilities eligible for compensation for a minimum duration of 10 years, ranging from $82,034 to $1.2 million. In the unfortunate event of a worker's death while on duty, the deceased may seek compensation. If the death results from an accident without contractor negligence, theirs are entitled to $32,553. In cases involving negligence, this amount increases to $65,106. Furthermore, a minimum compensation of $95,056 is stipulated for fatalities directly linked to job-related activities, with a maximum cap of $1 million. Contractors are required to assist in facilitating the filing of compensation claims.
There has been a remarkable 45% increase in the number of Chinese tourists visiting the Maldives, with no other competing country showing similar growth. So far this year, 233,332 tourists from China have traveled to the Maldives, marking a significant rise compared to the same period last year. According to the latest tourism update report from the Ministry of Tourism, China has become the largest source of tourists for the Maldives, representing 14.8% of the market share. Notably, more than 12,000 Chinese tourists arrived in the first 16 days of this month alone. In comparison, Russia ranks as the second largest source of tourists with 172,142 visitors recorded this year. This results in a difference of 61,190 tourists between the two countries. Overall, the Maldives has welcomed a total of 1,573,991 tourists this year, reflecting a 9.5% increase from 1,437,220 during the same time frame last year. The influx of tourists in October has also risen by 7.6%, with 81,964 arrivals this month compared to 76,172 in October of the previous year. Current statistics indicate that the Maldives receives an average of 5,123 tourists daily. The government has set an ambitious target to attract 2 million tourists by the end of this year, and this goal is anticipated to be met by December. Workers in China capital voiced worries about being economic prospects on Friday after Beijing posted its worst quarterly growth in over a year that it's hoping to correct with a slew of stimulus measures.
The 4.6% expansion in July-September is the latest evidence that the country's post-pandemic recovery continues to sputter as it suffers from sluggish consumption and a prolonged property sector crisis. While officials have launched a string of policies over the past 2 years to reignite economic activity, they have had little effect. There are hopes that a raft of stimulus unveiled since late last month will finally put the country back on track, but there is a worry that authorities are still not doing enough. In its announcement on Friday, the National Bureau of Statistics acknowledged a complicated and severe external environment as well as new problems of domestic economic development. The measures unveiled last month were aimed at kickstarting consumption and addressing a painful debt crisis in the real estate sector. The announcements, the most far-reaching in years, set off a blistering market rally fueled by hopes for a long-awaited bazooka stimulus, but optimism has since tapered as a series of briefings left investors wanting. In Beijing, people remained cautious about spending.
North Korea has decided to send a large-scale troop deployment to support Moscow's war in Ukraine, with 1,500 special forces already in Russia's Far East and undergoing training, said South Korea's spy agency on Friday.
The National Intelligence Services said the North had decided to send thousands of soldiers to help Russia, releasing detailed satellite images it said showed the first deployment. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol convened an emergency security meeting on Friday, with Seoul slamming Pyongyang's move as a significant security threat not only to their country but also to the international community. The NIS said it had detected that from the 8th to the 13th of October, North Korea transported its special forces to Russia via a Russian Navy transport ship, confirming the start of North Korea's military participation in Russia's war in Ukraine. According to the NIS, multiple Russian landing ships and frigates have already completed transporting the first contingent of troops who are currently stationed in military bases across Russia's Far East. It said that the Special Forces soldiers are expected to be deployed to the front lines of the Ukraine conflict as soon as they complete acclimatization training. It also said that the soldiers have been issued Russian military uniforms and Russian-made weapons. NIS said more troops are likely to be sent soon, adding that it estimated the North could send around 12,000 soldiers in total. Pyongyang and Moscow have been allies since North Korea's founding after World War II and have grown even closer since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, with Seoul and Washington long claiming that Kim Jong-un has been sending weapons for use in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin made a rare visit to Pyongyang in June, with the two countries signing a mutual defense treaty, fueling speculations of further arms transfers, which violates a raft of UN sanctions on both countries.
With his illustrious career coming to an end, Rafael Nadal said he feels he made the right decision for me today as he looks forward to one final hurrah at next month's Davis Cup finals in Malaga.
After losing to Spanish compatriot Carlos Alcaraz at the Six Kings Slam exhibition in Riyadh on Thursday, the former world number one appeared to leave some doubt as to if he will be fit for the Davis Cup, saying he would play if he could help his team.
And if I'm going to be ready for the Davis Cup or not, emotionally, I'm sure I will be ready in terms of physically and in terms of tennis level. I mean, remain a month. I'm going to be preparing for that, and I'm going to be trying to be in good shape to help the team to try to win. And at the end, that's it. No, if I feel ready and the captain watch me ready, then going to be his decision. If I don't feel myself ready for it, I will be the first one that that I will take the voice and say, okay, I'm not ready for the singles. Let's see if I can help in some way.
With 22 Grand Slam titles in the bag, including a record 14 French Open titles, Nadal announced last week he would hang up his racket after the international team event. The Davis Cup is down to the final 8 and Spain will face Netherlands on November 19th. The final will be played on November 24th. But before the Davis Cup, Nadal has what will most likely be his last ever professional matchup against longtime rival Novak Djokovic. The Serb lost in the other Six Kings Slam semi-final against Italian world number one Jannik Sinner, leaving the pair to square off in a third-place match which is slated to take place today. The winners of Thursday's semi-final, Alcaraz and Sinner, will duke it out for the record payout of $6 million in the Six Kings Slam final, also to be played today.
The members of hugely successful pop group One Direction said they were completely devastated by the death of a bandmate, Leon Penn, who fell from the balcony of his Buenos Aires hotel room at the age of 31.
Family members said they were heartbroken as condolences poured in from the world of music, fans, and the office of British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Singer Rita Ora interrupted a concert saying she can't even sing. NSYNC said the bandmates were deeply saddened. And the Backstreet Boys, as well as Rolling Stones guitarist Ronnie Wood, were also among those who paid tribute to the British singer. In Argentina, an autopsy suggested that Penn had not tried to stop his fall on Wednesday and may have fallen in a state of semi or total unconsciousness before his death. One Direction band members Niall Horan, Harry Styles, Louis Tomlinson, and Zayn Malik said on social media that they are completely devastated by the news of Liam's passing. In a separate tribute on Instagram, Styles said Penn's greatest joy was making other people happy. He wrote that the years spent together will forever remain among the most cherished years of his life. Tomlinson described Penn as the kind brother he'd longed all his life for. He said on Instagram that Liam was, in his opinion, the most vital member of One Direction. Penn was found dead after hotel staff called emergency services twice to report a guest who is overwhelmed by drugs and alcohol and destroying his room, according to leaked audio. Post-mortem results indicated that he was alone at the time of the fall and was going through an episode of substance abuse. Penn's family issued a statement saying they would remember him for his kind, funny and brave soul and asking for privacy.
And that's all we have for this hour. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant day ahead.
ඒරෙග දුනියග නජ හුට්ටි පවා පොඩිති මසල්ත
Cero votos en contra.